All right, so we're going to continue our coverage of this past weekend with two games in the AFC, as you can see by the title. Kansas City Chiefs get a big win over the Miami Dolphins over in Germany, and the Bengals get another win over the Bills on Sunday Night Football. So let's start with the Kansas City game. We picked this one last week, and once again, the Dolphins have let us down. We're not going to pick the Dolphins anymore. We just talked about this. They came back. They made it the game late in the game in the fourth quarter, but early on, they just got dominated by the Chiefs defense and offensively. Chiefs, on a couple drives, the two drives that they did score, pretty much made the Dolphins defense look pathetic. So, yeah, I mean, even despite the late comeback attempt, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, this one, this is a tough one. This game, again, we've seen top offenses come together and just kind of turn into mud. Not too much. The Chiefs did get two really good drives on the scoring drives where they turned the Dolphins defense into Swiss cheese and marched their way down and scored pretty easily. But otherwise, this whole game is rough. A theme we'll talk about with the other game in this one too is that the AFC East teams that we'll talk about today seem to have forgotten that football is a two-half sport. And the Dolphins did like nothing in the first half. They put together a fight in the second half. The Bengals did nothing. The Bills did nothing in the first half. Come back, try to play football again in the second half. Just kind of weird. The Dolphins, had they done anything at all, at least touchdown-wise in the first half, would have maybe had a different result in this game. But then again, it could have gone to overtime, and they crumble again. But this one is just a struggle the whole way through. That's, you come and watch, and I guess the Chiefs have done this somewhat throughout the season, and the Dolphins haven't had as high-flying games against when they played good teams this year. The Eagles game was good. Bills game started hot, and then obviously it was just a Bills beatdown after that. This one comes down to just be really, really slow. These two teams, the defenses, do a lot against each other. Tua plays decently well, 200 yards, a touchdown, avoids turning it over in the air. Patrick Mahomes, same thing, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, avoids any turnovers in the air. Both of them, I believe, end up getting credited for a fumble. Tua's is a little weird. It's the classic bad snap from the center, and I think that gets counted onto the quarterback. This one is probably one of the worst snaps you could have, as they're on a fourth down. They got to score here. It's 21-14. The game is literally over if they don't score. They've already messed up 3 times in a row. Dolphins offense just not getting anything going. Tyreek Hill not able to get much going here. Raheem Mostert and Tua kind of the only two with any life in this game for Miami. And then Liam Eisenberg tosses the snap like way over and to the right past Tua. That's over. He's got to jump on it to make sure that there's not another fumble recovery touchdown. The Dolphins kind of die in this one. The fumble recovery as well is one of the football plays of all time. And I said it like it's a mediocre play. It's actually pretty good from the Chiefs defense as they force the fumble and then throw a lateral pass when they realize I'm going to get tackled, and they make it all the way down the field to turn in for a touchdown. Me sitting and watching on my TV, I'm in disbelief. I didn't enjoy the result of that play, but I do have to give big credit to the Chiefs defense there. And that play will end up kind of killing the Dolphins, right? The Chiefs put up 14 points on offense. Dolphins put up 14 points on offense, but they kind of chased that fumble recovery touchdown the whole way through. And it makes it worse when you think about it. They'd likely score without that fumble there. At least a field goal. A field goal, obviously, then they lose 21-17. Or actually, it'd be 17-14 without the fumble recovery touchdown. So there's a lot of what-ifs that go in there where the Dolphins finally look like they have some life at the end of the first half. And just when everything's going well, they fumble there and it's over. So Chiefs get a well-needed win after they lost to the Broncos, and the Dolphins yet again struggle against a good team. I don't really think that I want to follow the narrative of the Dolphins cannot beat good teams. But I do think that they've had some really, really bad games against good teams. 2 of them are pretty bad. I think the Eagles game just got away from them towards the end. But this one was winnable. The Dolphins just kept shooting themselves in the foot. And the Bills one, they got destroyed after starting off good. So I do think that there's a conversation to be had about the way the Dolphins play against good teams. But I don't think it's all doom and gloom, as the Bills would also lose their game and the Dolphins hold on to the AFC East.
I would agree. Like we talked about this when we did our picks. I did, say I didn't want to, talk out of the side of both sides of my mouth there by bringing up the fact that the Dolphins pretty much have been beaten up on, garbage teams all year. They beat the Patriots twice. The Patriots are horrible right now. They beat the Panthers. We suck right now, plain and simple. You know, beat the mess out the Broncos. They suck, plain and simple. They did beat the Chiefs, which is hilarious. But in the games that really mattered against these, you know, big name teams, couldn't do anything. The guy beat up by the Bills. The Eagles game, they lost by 2 scores, and then this one, they can't do anything on offense. Like they are every single drive basically is a 3-and-out. Every single one in the first half, except for one where it went a couple. They got like one first down, I think, one or two first downs, I think, something like that, and then the fumble touchdown for the Chiefs. That one obviously is not 3-and-out, but literally every single drive in the first half, they literally could do nothing on offense, which is downright disturbing when you have all these guys on the offense that you do. It's just really it's just weird that they just come out and they just cannot perform the same way against these top tier teams. And when you play against these teams, these are the teams that you're going to play in the playoffs. Like you might see the Chiefs in the playoffs, depending on what seed they get. If they play, if they win in the division, they're not going to be playing them in the first round, but they might end up playing them in the divisional round. You got to beat these type of teams. Teams like the Bills. You're playing against them for the division. The Bills hadn't lost last night, they'd be leading right now. It's really that close. So I don't know what it is about coming out in these bigger games that they just haven't been able to perform. I don't think it'll continue, but right now, if you're a Dolphins fan, you got Dolphins stock. It's not looking too good. You've got 6 wins, 3 losses, but your 3 losses are to teams that probably should make the playoffs. I think the Chiefs and Eagles definitely will. Bills, we'll see as we get into that in just a second here. But you do have to give a little bit, a lot of credit, I should say, to the Chiefs. Defense played really well in that first half. And then obviously late in the game, getting that turnover on downs because of the fumble there, forcing that. And the offense definitely played better than I thought. I mean, only 21 points, but the 2 drives that they had where they went the length of the field, basically, they looked pretty doggone good. We talked a whole lot about the issues with the receivers, no big name guys. You're playing against the big name receiver that you had for all those years in Tyreek Hill. They came out, they performed, made some plays. So Chiefs, I'd say this, I don't want to say this is the worst Chiefs team. That would sound weird to say, but this is probably not the same type of Chiefs team that we've seen over the past 5-6 years now, but they're finding ways to win. So have to give them credit there.
Yeah. So from there, we'll talk about the other effects of the AFC East as the Bills end up losing to the Bengals, a team that they've had some problems against in the past, regardless of the big issue that happened in January with Damar Hamlin. Hamlin obviously recovered, doing very well. They get this matchup comes after that, and well, it doesn't go too well for the Bills, as just like the Dolphins, they forget that you play football in the first half. They did do a little better. They put up 7 by halftime, but they were down 21-7 when it became halftime. Then in the third quarter, they score a field goal. They try a little something, and they put up 8 points in the fourth quarter to try to make a little drive, but it ends up going nowhere. And they'll allow another field goal in the fourth quarter, and they'll go down 24-18. And this one again, we've talked about it all the time. We'll start before we give the Bengals credit because they deserve a lot of credit for this game. Got to start with Josh Allen and these turnovers now. He gets a good rushing touchdown in the beginning of the game. Gets called for taunting because he points at the defender, but it's fine. They hit the extra point. There's a touchdown later on in the fourth quarter, but he throws a pick. Again, he's got these turnovers. I had some grounding calls against him as they were making some crucial drives. So, and the Bengals, on the other hand, come out. Their 3 weeks of mandatory terrible football are over. And Joe Burrow comes out with almost a 400-yard game, 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon plays well. T. Higgins shines with 110 yards. Doesn't find the end zone, but I think he did enough as far as that goes. So, kind of a weird game for Buffalo in this one, and one they really didn't need to drop. As Terrence said, had they won this game, they'd lead the division. They'd be 6-3, just like Miami. They'd hold a tiebreaker over Miami, and now They sit in the somewhat hilarious position of being below the Jets at the current moment. And the Jets, of course, holding a win over them from week one when Zach Wilson came in pretty quickly and handled his business for the rest of the game. They will play the Chargers tonight, just shortly after we finish recording our videos tonight. And if they win, they'll be 5-3 and will in fact hold the second place spot over Buffalo, with Miami being at the top. So when Terrence, kind of alluded to maybe the Bills don't get to the playoffs, this is why. They drop another game, they fall to 5-4. The Jets, against all odds, are playing decentish football. Have a favorable matchup tonight against the Chargers if that defense can lock in on Keenan Allen. And the Bills could be in jeopardy. And the problem is that they just lost to a team whose whole division could actually make the playoffs right now, and that is pushing them out as well. As it currently stands, the entirety of the AFC North sits in the AFC playoff picture because the Bills just handed a fifth win to the Bengals, fourth in a row for them, and the Bills now fall to 5-4. So a lot of things went wrong in this game. They lost footing in their own division. They proved that they still have some struggles of their own with turnovers and playing against good teams, and they allowed the AFC North to continue stacking up and gearing up towards a full conference visit or full division visit to the playoffs, which would push the Bills out if they can't take that number one spot. And now they got to face through two teams to get there. So this is we say a lot of times during this early season, it's not panic time. I would not quite yet say it's panic time for the Bills. But this one adds a lot of weight. Right? You just did a lot of things went wrong from this one result that could lead to multiple ways for you to end up not in the playoffs. This would be a crazy team to not end up making the playoffs. So Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, James Cook, Gabe Davis, they've all played very well this season so far, but they keep slipping up when it matters most, and that could be a huge hindrance.
Yeah, I mean, we can just go into the same kind of spiel that we did for the Dolphins. Now, obviously, at least the Bills did beat the Dolphins this year, and they beat the mess out of them, like we said. But we can go in the same kind of spiel, with the Bills not playing up to what we expect. We can take that Jets loss out of it. That was a unique kind of situation. Now, obviously, Josh Allen, I think he threw 3 picks in that game, if we remember correctly. We
Yeah,
talked about that in length. But if you look at the other big games that they kind of played this year, Bengals probably going to be a playoff team now that they're on a resurgence. Just lost to them again. Uh, the Jaguars, they lost to them in London. That might be a toss-up game. You never know. But right now, Jags are the better team. I love to see, unfortunately, the Bills don't play the Dolphins again until the very last game of the season. That might be for the division. But based off of how things have been going for these two teams lately, I'd love to see them play like next week to see how things would go this time around. But yeah, the interception, it didn't. It's funny to say, the interception didn't kill him. It didn't kill them at the early parts of the game. Obviously, it wasn't good. But it wasn't really the end of the world because Bengals didn't do anything with that next drive anyway. It just wasn't until the Bills' next drive that they didn't do anything themselves that Bengals went down. They scored again. Now you're up 21-7. And outside of that first drive for the Bills, where they went all the way down, and I think both of us probably thought, hey, this game is going to be pretty high scoring. Both teams going down the field, up and down just like that. Wasn't the case. And despite that little bit of a push late in the game, didn't really matter. Bengals were able to get that last first down after the 2-minute warning, kneel it out. I just think, obviously, we do have to talk about the fact that the Bills have an insane amount of injuries right now. I mean, they've got a bunch of guys, especially on defense, that are not playing. We can go down the list for their injuries right now. You look at their report: AJ Klein out, another linebacker out, three linebackers out. Christian Bedford's out. Micah Hyde was questionable coming into the game. Dawson Knox on IR. You had Damian Harris, so he's on IR. Had a couple other guys. Matt Milano went out in that London game. Tre'Davious White. I mean, we can go down the list of how many injuries they have. But injuries are a part of the game, and they got to figure out a way to overcome it. And Josh Allen cannot throw interceptions. I mean, I don't know how many times we have to say this. He can't keep throwing dumb picks and expect to win. Because, again, this is a team that they very well might see in the playoffs this year once again. And If it's in Cincinnati, I would give the edge to the Bengals.